Hello, everyone. X Walk Hill Bethel Live here. And the entire religious structure of Jehovah's Witnesses has changed because now, not forsaking the gathering of themselves together involves playing it safe and getting on Zoom. Now, the global, worldwide education preaching work is just sending out letters. The whole COVID has completely changed a religion that is supposed to have been guided by Jehovah God. So you take Jehovah God, and then you have a virus, and who controls the religion? Jehovah or this virus? This is not even a human. It's not even an animal. It's not even an insect. It's a virus. You can't even see it. And it has changed the entire religion. Jehovah has had to concede defeat to this virus. Because for the longest time, if you did not go out door to door, knocking on those doors, banging on those doors, out in the public, downtown with watchtower in hand, putting those watchtowers in everybody's faces, handing them out to people, trying to start conversations. If you weren't doing that, you were blood guilty. If you weren't going door to door as a Jehovah's Witness, you were going to die because somebody would have not heard the good news, according to them. I don't know what their good news is. It's just Watchtower magazines. Somebody would not have heard it because you didn't go out preaching. That was Jehovah's Witness doctrine. You had to go out to avoid being, this is a Jehovah's Witness term probably, blood guilty. Meaning if Armageddon comes and somebody dies because they didn't hear about Watchtower and join the cult to survive, if they didn't hear about it, then you die because you didn't tell them. Well, all the Jehovah's Witnesses have been not out knocking on doors, not out talking to people, as many people as possible to avoid blood guilt, but they've been writing letters and sending them. They've been door-to-door pen pals. Now, one of the main problems with this, if Jehovah's Witness doctrine is, you got to really get out there and convert and get people's attention, or otherwise you're blood guilty. If that's Jehovah's Witness doctrine, you got to understand that the knocking on doors, when people were out in the public, knocking on doors, standing next to carts full of magazines, going downtown, handing them out to everybody that you could, putting them in all the laundromats, sitting watchtowers in the dentist's office, sitting watchtowers anywhere they possibly could. When they were out doing all that, that wasn't even bringing in a whole lot of people. That wasn't even that effective. But they had to do as much as possible to avoid blood guilt, because if somebody doesn't hear it because of them, they're in trouble. Now, because of COVID, the whole religion has been changed. Now they don't have to go out and do as much as possible to keep from being blood guilty. Now they can just sit at home, write a letter, put it in an envelope, and send it out. Goes in the person's mailbox. They may or may not even open it. What happened to all the urgency? What happened to the whole concept that you wouldn't be blood guilty as a Jehovah's Witness if you went to somebody's door or their block and they didn't open the door? You knocked, they didn't open the door, but you weren't blood guilty just because they saw you out there and they knew Jehovah's Witnesses went knocking from door to door. Supposedly, rain, sleet, shine, sunshine, whatever. They're out knocking on doors, and this is supposed to be recognizable to people to where people wouldn't be, Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't be blood guilty by people seeing them out. Well, now they ain't out at all. And you mean to tell me all that was a lie? All those years? That was another Watchtower false teaching? No, you didn't have to go out in the cold. You didn't have to have elderly, I remember elderly men and women, elders that can barely walk, their knees are aching, their ankles are swollen. And they're walking up, climbing up all these steps in these apartment buildings, worn out, tired in the snow. They're in the snow. I remember working with somebody that was older and they almost fell. They could have hurt themselves. We're going down a driveway, and this is a steep driveway in the winter. So as we're going down this driveway, we're trying to put one foot in front of the other really slowly, and I saw them slip. Right? And then I was able to put my hand behind their back, and then they just calmed down and they didn't fall. But do you know how many people put their safety at risk? Their health at risk? Being out in the elements because Watchtower told them that they had to? All those people who would be out in the elements, I'm talking freezing cold, and you're already older, you're already elderly. Do you know how many Jehovah's Witnesses I remember that got pneumonia? Well, being out in the elements doesn't help things like pneumonia. Is probably a main factor in the reason why so many older Jehovah's Witnesses I remember caught pneumonia. Then their health went downhill. Then they ended up dying. Because Watchtower told them it was necessary for them to be out in the elements. No, it was never necessary for you to be out in the elements when it's 100 degrees outside, when it's negative 20 degrees outside. You could be in the house writing letters. Watchtower never told anybody all of this. If Jehovah God was overseeing Watchtower, God knows the beginning and the end, meaning there's nothing God doesn't know. He's all-knowing. He knows everything. He knew COVID was going to come. He knew Jehovah's Witnesses was just going to be writing letters anyway and staying in the house. So if that's what preaching was about to become anyway, it was just writing letters, then why in the world would Jehovah knowingly have all these elderly people out in the scorching heat or in the freezing cold or in the rain getting sick if he knew all y'all had to do was write letters because that's all you're gonna be doing anyway in the future? It's not being run by God, is it? It doesn't make any sense at all. If this was run by God, you would know partially Because everything that Jehovah's Witnesses are doing now because of COVID, they'd have been doing because God would have foreseen COVID. They would have been had Zoom meetings, and then everybody would have been wondering, well, when COVID hit, Jehovah's Witnesses never changed anything because God knew it was coming, so why not go ahead and get everybody trained on how to use Zoom, how to use different things on the computer to meet together or different ways to meet together, and by all means write letters. Even before there were computers where people were able to meet on Zoom, they could have been writing letters. When it was hot, when it was cold. I never remember, when I was younger and I'm out working with all these older people, I never remember having a group of older people all meeting together writing letters. And I never remember having a group of young, kids that you don't want really just going into anybody's house, or young teenage girls working together just going into guys' houses. Of course, they're letting the teenage girls in. You got a couple teenage girls, 15-year-old girls knocking on your door, and you're just some random guy. Yeah, the craziest thing is you had all these people meeting for service at this block. None of us are getting let in the house. But of course, people of around the same age group, they're going to be friends, right? So the friends want to work together. Well, these two friends were both like 14 or 15-year-old girls, or maybe 16, I don't know. Why is it they're the only ones getting let in all these houses? It's common sense. So instead of putting all these young girls in danger, just letting them walk into people's houses, we don't know what the heck's going on. They could have been writing letters all this time. Jehovah didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't figure out that letter writing was about to be the thing anyway. Might as well get a jump start on it. What in the world could you possibly use to explain this as a Jehovah's Witness? All those years, 90 hours to be a pioneer, right? Wasn't it 90 hours at one point? 90 hours out in the heat and everything else, when some of that time could have just been used writing letters. I remember trying to get my time in, and in order to get my time in, I had to hop in that car and go out somewhere. I had to worry about getting a partner. All this time, just been writing letters. So COVID has completely exposed Jehovah's Witnesses as God ain't running you. Otherwise, God have been had you writing letters because it's safer. Because that's the whole reason why they're doing it now, is it's safer. They don't want to get sick. All them older people didn't want to get sick out in the cold and the rain, and they still had to go out. They didn't want to get heat stroke out in the sun. They still had to go out back in the day, back when I was growing up. So all of a sudden now, we can all play it safe here, right? Witnessing is writing letters. Jehovah's pen pals. They're not witnesses. Writing no letter is not being no witness. Writing no letter is not being no witness. They got to change that name. They got to change the name, because you can't witness in front of a bunch of pencils and stationery and stamps and erasers. That ain't being no witness. Oh, we gotta Can you imagine being in court? We got our first witness here. Hand me the letter. Open up the letter. Here's our first witness to the event. This letter here. That's not a witness, that's a letter. They're not Jehovah's Witnesses. They can't claim that name no more. They ain't been witnesses in years. Writing letters ain't witnessing. So you have an issue now because the whole religion has changed in that people don't have to even go to the Kingdom Hall anymore. They can just stay home and watch on Zoom. Well, back in the day, the peer pressure, right? You'd have got shunned. You'd have got shunned for doing the exact same thing Jehovah's Witnesses do today, which is stay in their house. People could have been in their house all this time, studying the watchtower themselves. They don't have to sit here and listen to you read a question and then have somebody else give the same answer that they see right there in the paragraph. They could have been studying the watchtower at home themselves. And if you did that, you would literally no longer be spoken to by your family and your friends. But now it's okay for people to just stay at home and just listen in. I mean, permanently stay at home and listen in. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that these are major changes in Jehovah's Witness doctrine because it had to have been the gathering of themselves together, the whole loving and something to find works or whatever. They had a scripture as the reason why you gotta be at the Kingdom Hall. You can't just stay at home and, like, let's say, listen over the phone. You need to be at the Kingdom Hall unless you're like so sick you can't come. You gotta be at the Kingdom Hall because you can't forsake the gathering of yourselves together. They can forsake it now because it's safer to forsake it now. So from here on out, because COVID ain't going nowhere, I heard there was some kind of monkey illness. I haven't done much research. All I've heard hearsay that there's some monkey illness, right? The whole COVID thing, people eating bats or whatever, I guess. Or I don't know how COVID started, eating something. Now I guess people eating monkeys, and now there's some kind of monkey disease. This stuff, when it's out, it's out. It's going to be out. So from here on out, I mean, the religion has changed. You ain't got to go to the hall. You can go to your house. And then also, too, when they start trying to go back out door to door, and it's cold outside, and it's hot outside, and you just don't feel like going, well, now you don't have to because now you can just write letters. So that's a major, major change is what you got to understand. That's a major change in that Jehovah's Witnesses ain't got to be Jehovah's Witnesses no more, really. They can just play it safe now. They can just stay in the house. They can just write letters. They ain't got to witness to nobody. They can just write letters. How are you going to get all these people out? It's going to be strange, right? When you got all these people, and now the easiest way to start your time, you ain't got to leave out. The easiest way to start your time now is just write some letters. You're struggling to get some time in. Well, you just sit at home and write letters. There's no way you're going to have as many Jehovah's Witnesses out knocking on doors as you used to, when now all they got to do is sit in their house and write letters. They don't have to be out in a dangerous neighborhood. They don't have to be out in the elements. They don't have to worry about any of all that stuff. They just They just go ahead and get them some stationery and some stamps, and they're all set. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you remember all those Saturdays from the time you were a little kid? All those Saturdays being out, and come to find out you never had to. You could have just wrote letters, but Jehovah didn't know that yet. Jehovah didn't know, because does that make sense? Jehovah just didn't know that you didn't have to be out. You could have been writing letters. No, men didn't know. The men running Watchtower in New York, they didn't know until COVID hit. That's why the whole religion's changed. And now you can stay home, and now you can write letters. Jehovah didn't change it. The men in New York did it, and it is obvious. It is obvious. There's no Jehovah's Witness that can say, yeah, Jehovah did all that stuff. It's an organization ran by a bunch of men, and the whole draw to it is that the individual member gets to say, oh, I'm a ministerial servant. Oh, I'm a pioneer. Oh, I'm an auxiliary pioneer. Oh, I'm special. That's the whole reason why people are a part of that religion. Don't really do nothing but write letters, but they feel so special, right? The whole name of the religion is false. Jehovah's not the right name. There's no J. There was no J back then. It couldn't have been Jehovah. Everything about it is wrong, but it makes people feel special. So that's the reason why people are there, writing letters and feeling like they're better than everybody else. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. XWall Kill Bethelite signing out.